Hello, welcome to Gust&Thunder channel. I am based in South Korea, and this is my first English version of the video. And the reason I ventured to record in English, which is not my mother language, is to talk about BTS new song, Yet to Come. This song has very important messages and make us to expect that BTS gonna do something after this song, which would be very very different from what they have been done so far. So to better understand they have a very very complicated symbolism and lyrics. So you need to understand the situation in South Korea. And what they're trying to do, in my opinion, is also very important to South Korea and the world. Okay, let me get it started. Okay, the first issue to understand is their obligation to go to military service. As many of you know, the eldest one, Jin, needs to go to the military service 2023. So it's about a year left. In Korea, as you reach as male, 20 something, and you need to serve in military for 2 years. And most of young Korean people see it as a duty, honorable duty. Okay. And also there is some exceptions that you do something else instead of going through military service, regular services. Because in some areas designated by law, if you have exceptional or extraordinary contributions to the country, so you better stay in your field instead of serving in the military, because that's better for the country. So there is exceptions, and there are conditions for that. For example, like you're a scientist with a certain achievement. There are conditions for artists and athletes as well. If you have some gold medals, some medals in Olympic Games, you will be exempted. So you stay in your field and do maintain your performances. The problem for BTS, kind of unfortunate enough, is that the law says they have condition for artists, but just for pure artists, like a classical artist. This law, when they were made or written, Korean Congress did not expect entertainment area artists in entertainment area may contribute extraordinarily to the interest of the country. So they have to modify that. There is no question that BTS has made a great contribution to the country. And even outside of this country, they are valuable to a lot of people in many, many countries. So there's no objection to that. So only thing left is the law needs to be modified. Simply adding another category for allowing that privilege of military service exemption. But the timing is not good for BTS, because Korea went through a presidential election last May, and the fight between parties began last year, as you can imagine. So the BTS military issues became a item on the table of political battle. This was not good for BTS. So as discussions for BTS military exemption goes around, political fights made the discussion to be seen as a way to get around the duty, honorable duty, and make BTS to be seen as using their success and their influence to evade the honorable duties. That's very difficult to understand to many of you, but that's how it proceeded in reality. Then presidential election went through, and a new president from opposite party became a president. At this point, I need to mention that as this photo shows, BTS was in collaboration with the previous president in many political agendas, and they have some common values, and many cases BTS has chosen to cooperate, and they became a even special presidential special envoy to UN. So they gave a speech before UN. And this article says that new president, their team has asked the BTS to perform for their presidential inauguration ceremony, and eventually it hasn't come to a reality. This was not a difficult thing to expect because their political directions are different, and BTS has a strong relationship with the previous presidency. So it's not appropriate for a new presidency, knowing that kind of history of a collaboration. They better not to ask for this. But the reason to ask for this, if you see in details, is very unacceptable to BTS. And I think BTS got very angry about this. In previous slides, I said that the performing in inaugural ceremony was April. Okay, that was said. Probably BTS said no. And why do you ask this to me? I have no other ways except saying no. That's what it is. But there is reason. There could be some very strong reason for a new president to ask for that, because BTS is in need of modifying exemption law, and if their party now they are in power, and the previous parties was in support of giving a exemption to the BTS. So if they collaborate, if they cooperate, BTS military exemption issues is nothing. They can be done like this. That's why they were able to ask, maybe request BTS to come to their ceremony, because there is unspoken condition that realized 1 month later to be very negative for the Congress, or to build up supportive public opinions for BTS military service exemption. Okay, here is the BTS answer to the offer. Okay, bottom one is blood, sweat and tears music video. As many of you remember, this is an evil creature. The symbolism here says, as BTS started from nothing to became a significant presence in the entertainment business, there has been many temptations. Okay, you do it this, and you will do it better. Okay, a lot better, and good for you and for me as well. Okay, and as if you remember, Jin here actually kissed this evil creature. What happened after that? When Jin looked into himself in the mirror, crack became too formed, and eventually his whole face collapsed down. I think by showing that, BTS was trying to warn themselves to stay as the beginning, not to compromise yourselves as you grow up. You don't negotiate for those things that are far away from values. This wouldn't be good even for you in the long run. That's what they're trying to say in Blood, Sweat and Tears. And they use the same symbolism in the Yet to Come music video. Here things are different. The evil creatures now fossilized. They are dead. and halfway buried in the ground. And the eldest one, Jin, who could be the first target of temptation of military exemption, is in relaxed positions looking down on current status of evil creature who used to be a strong. This shows many stories they went through in the past and also shows the determination they have made. We rejected that temptations. I'm going to the military. We may stop releasing new songs, but I will overtake it instead of doing some negotiations. And another symbolism, second one is this number, 20219. RM is the leader, and when he raps, this number has been shown many times. This number came from Run music video, 2015. You see on the cart, train cart, you see the same number, 20219, and RM just passing by. Okay. And by showing 20219, and RM's lyric says a new chapter. So we're going to the military service, and this is going to be very different from what BTS has been done. And they are not saying a new chapter if their intention is just going to the military service for 2 years, one by one or at once. When they say a new chapter with that number 20219, that means there are some very important issues for them they can contribute to, even though that is very, very different from what they have done so far. I think that's what that means, making me wonder what it is. If you are in the States, 20219 may be very familiar, but many Koreans and most of the people in other countries, they may not know this. 20219, this is zip code, postal code for Washington, D.C. area. This is what I think. I think this is the later part of their song. There's two lines of lyrics, and the upper line is Korean, actually. I translated, saying that after going around and going around, that means they have went through many different things for their lives since they have made a 7-member group. Now, after a long period of going through many up and downs and many different stories, now and we are going back to the original state. That's I think what the lyric means here in Korean. And in the final, the bottom line, the lyric changes to English, saying back to one. Okay, if you put that in context in one language like a Korean, it doesn't make it makes sense, but it doesn't make perfect sense. It is kind of a little bit off, not to back to one, but back to 7, or back to original state, like many years ago, 7 or 10 years ago. We have not changed. Okay, we're the same. So that's why we have made those decisions. We're not going to negotiate about political negotiations anymore. We are in line with the values that we started with. So I focus on back to one, what it means. RM says that they put a lot of attention to lyrics. I think this is one of those things they may have spent a lot of time to carve out this lyric, particular lyrics. This is something to do with yet to come. This is something to do a new chapter, the RM says, in conjunction with 20219. That's my theory, and let me explain what recently has happened. And May 31st, they have made a visit to White House. It was invitation by President Biden, as you saw here. This is very important move. The official reason for this brief visit, about 3 days visit, and make about 5 minutes long video saying against hate crimes, particularly in relation to Asian Americans caused by COVID-19. I think understanding the circumstances of current geopolitical issues between America and Korea, South and North as well, there could be, I'm not going to go into the details in saying all the plausible evidence, though. They may have discussed something else, or they have confirmed each other's intention to do something else for the new chapter, the Back to One. Okay, talk about the Back to One. Koreans used to be a one nation for many, many years. Only got separated for 70 years after Korean War. And the war is now in armistice between basically North Korea and UN, which is represented by United States. And there's also China. Korea is not part of those, ironically. So here, the former President Moon Jae-in, he tried very hard to solve the problems, because without resolving the war situations between North Korea and the States, there's no peace in Korea, no going forward to a Korean peninsula. So if they can change the armistice status to the peace treaty, that is the most direct and peaceful way to give prosperity for North and South Korea and the Korean peninsula as a whole. Opportunities and also getting rid of threats to the U.S. as well. So in a peace treaty, North Korea are gonna go through denuclearization. They're gonna get rid of those ICBMs and nuclear bombs. Okay. In response to that, U.S. will lift sanctions, which have made a North Korean economy really, really bad. Okay. So that kind of idea was mediated by former president in South Korea, Moon here. And this process began in Donald Trump presidency, and Donald Trump met Kim Jong-un a few times. Both sides approached very, very close to the signing of the treaty, like one step away. But it couldn't become a reality. And Joe Biden, even though he's a president from a Democratic Party, he succeeded the Trump approach to the North. Seems to be he's looking for a peaceful resolution with North Korea. And that was almost became a reality late last year, before Ukraine war broke out. I think that screwed up peace treaty negotiations between two countries. Peace treaty also will give U.S. opportunity to make investment or the economic boom. Okay, North Korea is reasonably waged and well-trained workforces, and they can transfer many things from mainland China to Korea. It's very nearby. And the global economy needs a place to make investment, to give a economic boom, so every money can run to the directions and to locations. I think North Korea could be a candidate for that. The peace treaty is one of those things, and to give a Biden the peaceful measures of get rid of military threats, ICBMs and nuclear bombs, and at the same time they can handle their internal economic issues, like very, very high inflations they are experiencing these days. That's very abnormally high, more than 8%. Okay, so that's why Biden is thinking about this seriously. But the problem is South Korean presidents who used to function as a mediator and the proponents are not there, is not there anymore, replaced by new President Yoon, who was selected by South Korean people to become president by saying that we are militarily a lot more superior to the North, and at the same time a lot more economically superior. Why we feel the pressure from the North? Okay, I will change the situations. That can be seen very aggressive approaches to the North. And if the relationship between North and South gets really sour, and the U.S. is in a military treaty in South Korea, once South Korea gets involved in war, U.S. gets involved automatically. So Biden doesn't like the situations. As I said, Biden is suffering from very low approval ratings. It's going down very low. He needs some opportunity to turn things around before 11/8, which is congressional election day for the states. The Congress, even though the Democratic Party is a majority at the moment, the difference is only 10 seats. It could be very different, and you cannot guarantee that you're going to maintain this position, considering very low approval rate of Biden. This is why I expected that Biden needs some turnaround point before this date. So it doesn't have a lot of time left. I think a good thing to take care of this is signing a peace treaty with the North, even though South Korean new president has a different views. That's why Biden was trying to visit former Korean president when he was visiting Korea about a half a month ago. And I think BTS's visit to White House is also related to these issues, because BTS is determined. They're trying to do something significant in new chapters before their members getting separated by military service in 6 months. Okay, here is a kind of summary that I made. So BTS has made very big decisions. I don't know, I'm not a mind reader, but I assume they have made big decisions when they rejected the request to perform in new president inaugural address. And probably they very much disliked the intention behind it, because their views are not aligned with the BTS's view, and they try to negotiate that. They try to make a deal, performing for our inaugurations and being part of us from then on, and we will give you a probably very likely exemption of military service. I assume BTS disliked that very much. They haven't made a decision and made this song yet to come, and used the symbolisms that I showed before to clearly express themselves. And at the same time, when BTS Biden met, U.S. North Korea peace treaty is ongoing, and their discussions may be related to this, because Biden sees this thing as good for America. Militarily, their security, and economically, and politically good for him, giving a lot of votes to Biden. They need a publicity. So he's trying to show that Biden has great share of their views, of values with the BTS. I think that's what Biden is trying to do. So publicity is very, very important to Biden. When this important peace treaty became a reality, that the magnitude of contribution to the nation of the United States should transform to the votes to the Biden. And that's where BTS is important. BTS sees this thing is very important before they go into military. This is a good opportunity. They can contribute their homeland. Going back to one country step. This is a very important step. Going back to one. This is what their song Yet to Come sounds something resolution, something determination. And sad at the same time because they don't know what's going to happen. They're going to do the best they can do. Maybe Biden does the same thing. Biden does his best as well because he's in need. But there is a portion that God's involved. We Korean saying says like that. Do your best and wait for God's call. I think that's what BTS means, a new chapter, new start, based on the values they believe, the values that a lot of fans around the world believes. So finally, Yet to Come. So what BTS gonna do for these situations? What they're gonna do is, I think, performing their shows, voicing their songs and doing performance. It's the same thing, but in different contexts, maybe in different places, very unexpected places. And also, time-wise, they got to be separated because of military duty next year. So, therefore, the new chapter should be written from now until the end of this year. Half-year period. There could be very, very big changes in that period. That's what we can assume from their songs and their situations in reality. Okay, that's about it for today. Thanks for watching.